Ka Meghalaya ke di jilla ka bapra ka Dawa ban kyntiew ya ka bhah khajna sha ka jilla naka khajna ka sarkar pedeng ban sam sha ki jilla ne divisible pool sha ka san 4%. Ka sarkar jalla hapo ka jinya lam jong menteri rangba ukon rat ki sangma kala pharu ya ka jing terwa ka bakon iwei point lakh klur tingka ka grand in 8 na ka benta sansdem ha ka jinya lang bala penyai da chairman ka 16th finance commission u Arvin Panagaria ha ka jinya lang ka bala long ha ka lai potrik nai lur hasilong habakren syakilat pathai kubor Upanagaria uloong ka jing angnut jong ka jilla ka long ban kyntiew ya ka bhah nika divisible pool syaka san 4%. Nakaliang ucaman ru ula pentip baka sarkar Meghalaya kala pharu ya ka jing terwa ya ka jing penyo ka bapalat iwei point lakh klur ka grand in 8 na ka benta ki sans number 1. Kama shua ucaman ula pentip baka commission kala sngohun bahaya ka jing pensai jong menteri rangba ka jela ukon rat ki sangma ha ka por baula aya ka jing kren. Ka jela kala aya ka jing batai ka basyai bha ula ong da ka babandra menteri rangba jong phi ula pen iya ka jing angnut bat ka jing shim khia ka jong ha ka bay dei bat ka roi ka par jong ka jela bat ngilas ngauhun ya ka ka bangila sakhi ka jing batai hi ka dei ka bapenhun kala kentup ya ki program bapher ka bay dei ka jing don jong ki nong shong shnong ka jing long jong ki jaka bat ki kam jngok kai nalor kata ula kedoru ba ka jing pen isha phangkum no ba ka jela kala la bante la kam stet bha halor ka jing yap jong ki long kumi armet ha ka por kha khulung kalong ka bas ngotenat shibun ha ka bay dei ka jing batai ya commission 10 jong ka jela ucaman ula ong kawai par ka benta jong ka jing batai kalong halor ka jing amir jing mut ya commission 10 ka ba ka jela ka don ya ka plan ka ba kentup ya ki program ka ba ka kwa ban pentrikam bat ka jingkut jing mut jong ka na ka benta ki pat ba ka Meghalaya kata nalor ka jingbu thong jong ka jela ban kenjo syaka thong ban kenjo ya ka thong jong ka GSP syaka $10 billion kat hadu usnam ahjar arpopra kata ka banwan ra ya ka per capita income ka bajan kot syaka $1,000 ka balong ka babiang palan.
So we had a very good meeting this morning. The state gave a fantastic presentation on Meghalaya, to which I'll come. But a very unique feature of this presentation was that your Chief Minister, being who he is, he made lots of interventions during the presentation. So he was very, very engaged. One could see the passion and engagement that he has with the state's development. We are all very impressed with what we saw. The presentation itself was very extensive. It covered numerous programs relating to the demography, geography, tourism, whatnot. One of the very impressive things that they presented was had to do with the how the state has very dramatically brought down the maternal mortality rate. There is a program under which and apparently the state has the record of every single pregnant woman in the state, and then they follow and then they have that data by first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, birth, whatnot. So very, very impressive. Likewise, the program on early childhood development, where unlike other states where in the sports etc. the kids get picked up at a later age of 15 or 16, here Meghalaya is doing this at a much earlier age. So number of these things, issues related to water supply, hotels, colleges being built, skill and entrepreneurship, overseas placements, nurses in, even the program under which the state is now training nurses who then get employed in places like Japan. So it was a very extensive presentation. It eventually also naturally went into the issues of finances, which is what the Finance Commission is more directly interested in. So we also got a fair bit of details on what the financial condition of the state is. what the debt to GDP ratio is, why the debt to GDP ratio is bit on the high side, what have been the fiscal deficits, and again, why fiscal deficits have been on the high side. Then finally, the presentation came to another very important aspect of the presentation was a discussion of the Mission 10, under which the state has a very ambitious plan, both of programs that it wants to undertake and the commitments it has to the people of Meghalaya, and the state is targeting to take the GDP to $10 billion by 2028, which would bring its per capita income to close to about $3,000, which is quite good. So, on the finance, in the end, on the main subject for the Finance Commission, of course, is the devolution, and on that the state's pitch was that the vertical devolution to the states from the divisible pool increased from the current 41% to 50%. And this is, of course, a figure we have been hearing in state after state, and there is somehow across states seems to be some consensus that this devolution ought to rise from 41 to 50%. Normally, of course, finance commissions don't really change the shares that dramatically, but in any case, for us, it's an early stage of work, and so we don't know where that is going to go. On horizontal devolution, where the mandate is how the state share is to be divided among the 28 states of India. The state had some very specific suggestions, and in particular, the state pitched for larger proportion of the state's share to be devolved based on forest. 15th Finance Commission had given a weight of 10% to forest and ecology. Meghalaya's proposals for the 16th are that we raise that from 10 to 15%. They also suggested introducing a new criterion called the rural dispersion of the population, to which they said 2.5 to 5% weight be given. So if one were to do that, then this will be a new criterion, because rural dispersion has not been a criterion in the past for any finance commission. So we have gone to, this is the 8th state, and we have heard 8th time for the increase from 41% to 50%, the vertical devolution. Normally, the commissions in the past have never taken a very large jump. 41 to 50 is an incredibly large jump. There are only two examples. The 7th Commission had done that, and then the 14th had done that. But general philosophy that the commissions have followed is that you should not disturb the status quo by excessively large amount, because that then disturbs the budgets of everybody. Even those who benefit can't absorb it fast enough, but those who lose on account of such a large, meaning it's a central government, for the central government, then it creates a very large imbalance very suddenly, and that leads the central government to, of course, react and respond. To the 14th, the way the central government then responded was over time. The share of cesses and surcharges which do not go into the divisible pool expended. Also the CSS, the centrally sponsored schemes, expenditures on CSS as a proportion of the gross tax revenue declined over time. So it leads to unintended consequences, and so generally finance commissions have gone, particularly with respect to the vertical devolution, moved only slowly. They changed the status quo only a little bit, incrementally. And same also goes for horizontal. Generally, horizontal devolution also changes do happen, but they are generally incremental. Very rarely these changes become step jumps. Meghalaya depends very heavily on central transfers, which are coming both from the Finance Commission, but also from the center. Non-FC transfers are also quite large. If you look at it, the debt to GDP ratio is rather high, and so also the fiscal deficit is high. Now, part of it is explained away by the fact that the state has been making good use of the long-term capital grants that it's being given as a loan, 50-year loan, which obviously has an incredible, and it's an interest-free loan for 50 years. So it's almost like a grant, but it's not quite a grant, and therefore it has to be actually taken into the debt to GDP ratio. It goes in there. So it gets a little bit overstated because of that, but still I think I would say it is a bit on the high side.